Good evening and welcome back to another evening of racing here at Syndicate Motorsport. My name's Pirate Lazebeam and I'll be doing the commentary for tonight's opening round of the new BTCC league that we are hosting here. Well, it's a bit of a WTCC because we're doing a world tour. We're using British touring cars to do it, and an exciting opening round. We've got Sonoma Raceway, which is one of my old favourites actually from our PC 2 days. Haven't done it actually in AC for a very long time, but should be a good track here for the touring cars, and should provide some good battles as well. With this being the first round of the league, we don't have any ballast applied to the cars, but there has been a little bit of balance of performance applied thanks to hard work from the moderator team, particularly Viles and so on. So looking forward to a bit of good racing here. And we've only got 11 on the server for the first round, so hopefully we get a bit of a better attendance as the rounds go on. But hopefully we still have enough here for a good solid race today. At the moment, Forrest McCormack has taken the top spot in the BMW for the qualifying session with a 140.671. We've then got Drift 340, which is in P2 in the Audi with a 140.756. Andrew in third place, not where we normally see Andrew, but in a Toyota Avensis rocking a 141.249. So a bit of work to do there for Andrew. Alien in fourth place with the Ford Focus ST. So it's nice to see actually that the first four cars are all different manufacturers. That seems to suggest the balance of performance is working. Alien in there with a 141.471, so a pretty solid time as well. Binding in fifth place with another Toyota, 141.536, and then Akashik in sixth place, maybe suggestive of his midfield performance this year, but we'll have to see. 141.558 for Akashik, so pretty close there with Binding. Might seem some battles unfolding there. And then also next up was Sketty, who was also very, very close behind in terms of timing there. Now I should point out that the mod pack does have an issue that the BMW, I believe the Ford Focus, so that'll be Alien, have no external audio for some reason. I seem to remember us driving this car pack at Bathurst many moons ago, and it had the same issue back then, so obviously it hasn't been fixed. But hopefully we don't end up in a situation where we're having to watch a car go around in silence. Hopefully there's a battle with a car that does have external audio, and we can keep ourselves entertained there. Yeah, best of luck to everyone out there on track. Hopefully we have a good solid race. As ever, I will reserve the right to initiate a race restart if required, but hopefully the drivers out there know a little thing or two about clean first laps by this point, and we don't have to do that. I haven't sound swapped them files. That's probably why I'm not getting any external audio. Anyway, lights are up, engines are revving, and away we go. Forrest McCormack off to a good start there with Drift, losing a little bit off the line I think there in the Audi. That's allowing Andrew in the Toyota to come down the left hand side as they come up the hill on the first lap here. Bit of a packed grid. Oh, there's a car turnaround already. That's Akashik. But I think he's the only one involved in that incident, so yep, he is going to be at the back of the grid, but that's not worthy of a race restart. We're going to let Forrest McCormack take his well-deserved lead here as he leads the pack down the hill on the first lap. Drift 340 coming in from behind with Andrew and Binding close proximity. I don't think they're actually in the same livery this time, or are they? No, they're not. Down the sweeping left-hander they go. They come off the mountain. And further back down the grid you can see Erdy in another Audi battling with the likes of Alien and Tip. Not actually entirely sure how to pronounce that name, but there they go. So Alien locking up the wheels in the Ford Focus as he manages to make a position on the inside, sweeping around through on the inside of the Audi there. And then through the twisty section. Let's go to the front of the pack where we have Drift 340 and Andrew. Andrew's right on the tail here. On board here with Andrew, you can get a front row seat. There's a mighty loud cockpit. But around the final head, I'm actually going to drop the audio a little bit because the cars are quite loud. There we go, so hopefully that's still audible, but you can hear me a little bit better. Of course, McCormack still leading the pack here. Andrew climbing the hill, looking for a way past Drift. Back to the onboard view with Andrew here, and you can see him closing in, but he's still 0.3 of a second behind and riding the curbs over the crest. You can see that you can't really see from the internal point of view much of what's going on ahead of you with that big dashboard in the way. Maybe he's adjusted the seat inside to mirror his real life booster seat that he uses on a regular basis. And then down the hill they go. Let's go back to Alien, who's actually gone a little bit off piste here. Rejoining the track with Akshik managing to sneak through there, getting a position. It's Erdi in P7 now with Akshik going sneakily down the inside. And Akshik's done a great job there of overtaking. Unfortunately the camera angle there was terrible. Completely missed it, so it's unfortunate. But here comes Erdi back again, trying to take the inside line, but maybe just being able to sneak through, but just losing out there to Akshik, who gets a good exit. Road through the twisty section they go again. Akshik back up to P7, having been spun in the opening lap and dropping down to P11. Doing a good job of climbing back up the positions here. But it's Toop and Paposu who are leading at the back, which is a complete contradiction in terms. Yeah, so let's take a look at Box now that Vals has mentioned the legendary Box. And he is indeed in the Alpha. I think Alpha's been restricted due to balance of performance to have no aero adjustments allowed. And the car, as Vals points out, has indeed been heavily nerfed to bring some balance to the grid. So Alien's gaining some ground here. Again, over the crest of the hill there, you can see visibility isn't necessarily great unless you've raised your seating position. But there's a little bit of action happening as well with Box and Akshik now, as Box runs wide, allowing Akshik to sneak on through. Will he be able to get that sealed? No, he does not. Akshik still remains in P7. But he's definitely hot on the heels of Dr. Box now. Makes a dive down the inside there and just manages to sneak through late on the brakes. Pays off though for Akshik as he leads Box almost into the final corner, but Box isn't quite giving up yet. He's side by side, and it's Box who leads down into the final hairpin. Akshik looking again for a line down the inside. He's going to overcook that though and potentially get caught on the cutback here with Dr. Box, but it's Erdi who's actually making good use of this battle ahead and catching up from behind, only 0.6 of a second behind for Erdi now. Box opens the next lap though in P7. He's going to be climbing up the hill here, trying to find a way past Akshik, but it's Box's rear view mirror which we need to be thinking about at the moment. He's got Erdi and Alien starting to come up pretty quickly as they crest over the top of the hill here, and looks like Erdi's on a mission here to find a way past the Alpha. Box switches to the right hand side. I think it's actually getting out of the way for Erdi as Alien also looks to get into the action here. Well, that camera angle needs to change a bit more quickly, doesn't it? But here we go, Alien now taking advantage of the situation. He's going to be able to sneak past Box on the left-hand side potentially, but Box will have the advantage into the right-hander here. And actually he takes Erdy out with a bit of a rear-ender, and that's not going to be particularly helpful to Box's race. He's done the gentlemanly thing though and allowed Erdy to go back in front, but I do suspect there will be some damage there for both cars. Let's see if any of them go into the pits after that little bit of a shunt. The slight irony that there's hard hats on the side of Box's car. He definitely needed one for that incident. So around the final corner they go. Will we see anyone going into the pit lane? No, I guess they actually would have had pits early because Sonoma's got a ridiculously long pit lane. But out at the front, we've got Forrest McCormack 2 seconds clear, Andrew in P2, but Drift is attempting to make a move as he closes the gap now. There you go, that's a slightly better camera, it switches a little bit more conveniently for that left-hander. The Drift is closing in, he's 0.6 of a second behind though, so he has a bit of work to do. Drift now starting to ease up behind Andrew, 0.4 of a second as the gap gets a little bit closer. 12 minutes of race time remaining. Now I suspect for those of you who are wishing to use your channel points that because I'm in the TV van, some of the camera angles won't work. And there's Andrew going toe to toe with Drift into the final hairpin, actually losing out to Drift, who makes a really good exit and leaves Andrew a little bit scratching his head thinking, how did I go from 0.6 ahead to 0.6 behind? And it's now Binding starting to close in the gap behind Andrew. It might put Andrew under a bit of a pressure, and that may allow Drift to break away. Bit of a lock up on the rear right there from both cars as they come up the hill there. But yes, just in case you are planning to use some of the camera angles, you might find that the rear view camera doesn't work because of the fact that I'm in the TV van. But the helicopter cam should work and chase cam should be fine as well. So Binding is actually getting a bit closer here. It's not often that you see Andrew under pressure in the first round where there's no ballast to make him slower. Let's go to the onboard view for Binding, who seems to have lost a little bit of time and energy there coming out of the right-hander. But through the twisties, over the curbs, those curbs that you would have to very much avoid in Project Cars 2 because it would kill you. But back round once again to the final corner where Drift managed to execute such a good overtake on the last lap. Tyres in the Toyota die quicker than the rest. Interesting. So Andrew set himself up here for a little bit of trouble. So everyone's on the medium compound, it looks like. Bindings opted for the Kershaw livery. Fond of a pressure washer is Binding. Here we go. 9 minutes left on the clock. Oh, that's interesting to know, Viles. It reminds me of Project Cars 2 touring cars, because I always have to drive the BMW being rear-wheel drive because my front-wheel drive cars would always just overheat the wheels and then you couldn't turn them anymore. at least the Beamer gave you the option. So Andrew putting the pressure back on drift now. 0.5 of a second separating these two as they come through the twisties. And we'll see if Andrew's lining up to return the favour to drift as they come into the final corner. Now that Andrew knows that you can do a little bit of a dive there and safely execute an overtake without causing an issue. He's setting himself up quite nicely for that to happen. Let's see if we can go on board with Andrew and see whether he's planning a little bit of that manoeuvre. Yeah, he's going for it, but that's going to be dangerous. And there is a little bit of a shunt there. I think he didn't quite do it as cleanly as he needed to, and there's Binding getting caught out a little bit in the action there, having to take evasive manoeuvres to avoid hitting the rear end of Drift, who was avoiding Andrew there. Back up the hill now, and it's Andrew leading the 3, with Drift and Binding getting in on the action now. Getty just appearing briefly in the Audi. Over the top of the hill they go. Let's go for the onboard with Binding. As they come down the hill, he's getting alongside Drift for a moment there. And he's getting a good clean exit here, which is going to put him in good stead now to get up to P3. Binding's on the podium. 7 minutes left to go. Round they go. And it's Binding who is 0.8 of a second behind Andrew now. Drift is just mere seconds, or milliseconds behind Drift at this point, Andrew at this point. Round they go. Scatty's actually getting closer. He might be one to watch in a few laps. But Drift just needs to find a way to keep up now, because if he can get into a good position, he might be able to do the same move on Binding that he did on Andrew a couple of laps ago, and the very same move that Andrew has done to Drift. It looks like he's a bit too far back to make that one work. Up the hill they go once again. Drift right on the tail of Binding at this point. They come down the hill, we're going to say, on this kind of front quarter panel view from Drift as we see him chasing down Binding on the downhill section. It's Andrew though who's starting to break away. He's 0.9 of a second ahead of Binding, and hopefully these two don't get too separated so we get the action continuing. But at the moment it's Drift closing in, 0.4 of a second now. Hear those tyres squealing. Drift getting a little bit further back now, 0.6 of a second. Getty is 1.8, so he's marginally closer. But we're only talking about a 1/10 of a second there compared to where he was a few laps ago. Forrest McCormack just setting the fastest sector 1 of the race just now, 42.397, as he extends his lead to 6.3 seconds. Up the hill, Drift pretty much even Stevens on his time at the moment. You can see that in the bottom right there. He's kind of tickling a small improvement there, catching a little bit of curb on the inside there. You can see how difficult it is to see over the top of those curbs, or those fine brows. The drift seems to get a little bit of a speed boost through that long left-hander, whereas Binding's losing out a little bit. But then on the exit, Binding seems to claw that time back relatively easily in his Toyota. Just checking what the hell he was driving there for a second. But at the moment, Binding isn't quite getting any closer to Andrew. It's staying pretty even at this stage of the race. 3 minutes left on the clock though. Hear what sounds like straight cut gears. Of a burble from the exhaust pipe as they come down through the gears, heading down the downhill section. Drift now getting a little bit closer. You can see the time just popping into yellow, which means it's sub 0.5 of a second. And he's a man on a mission at the moment. A bit of a lock-up on the rear end of Binding there. And we'll see now whether Binding can extend his lead there, as the Toyota just seems to get a little bit of a advantage on this short straight down to the right-hander. And there's Binding catching a bit more curb than he probably wanted to there, and he's getting a little bit unsettled. And now that leaves Drift in an opportunistic situation where he's got 0.3 of a second separating these two, and he might be able to pull off that manoeuvre into the final corner that we've seen done before. Oh, but it comes a little bit earlier, and it looks like Binding made a small mistake there. But it's now side by side. They come down to the right-hander at the end of this circuit. There's Binding's front end. Will he leave much room? He's getting squeezed into the wall here a little bit. But it's Drift who stays alongside, and these two are going to go up the hill together. Oh, there's a little bit of a punt, but Binding manages to hold on to it. And these two are going hammer and tong. There's only 57 seconds left on the clock, so they know this is the last lap. And will Drift find his way past? He's almost taking a little bit of a trip into Binding's rear end there. But the pressure's very much on, and these two are going to go all the way to the finish line like this, I think. Side by side they go into the braking zone, down to the left-hander. This is typically where Binding's car seems to get the advantage, coming out of this corner, but will he have a way to get past before they get to the right-hander? And then who's going to give who a hard time as they run down to the finish line? Binding switches to the left-hand side, looking for a way around the outside. As they come round, Drift has got the inside line though, and that's going to keep him pretty well protected. Go on board with Binding, get a front row seat to what he's seeing. And it's going to be all or nothing for Binding now. Onto the power, but a little bit late. It's going to allow Drift to get a little bit further ahead. But Binding's literally got one move left up his sleeve. He's going to have to do this last Hail Mary into the final corner. But I think that's it. As long as Drift gets a nice clean exit, which he does, that might be game over for Binding's podium hopes. And it's Forrest McCormack in P1, Andrew in P2, Drift taking P3 with a hard-earned victory there onto the podium. Binding takes P4, Sketty just disappearing off camera there, takes P5, Akshik picks up P6. Alien in the Airwaves Special will be grabbing a P7. Erdy just a little bit further behind will be crabbing? We'll just be crabbing sideways. No, we'll be grabbing P8 with Box in P9 and Tupe and Posu in 10 and 11 respectively. Well, that was a pretty solid race, despite the smaller grid. This goes to show, actually, that you just need a few drivers having a battle, and that's a very entertaining race indeed. There we go. Binding's still going. What do you mean by two groups files? Oh, okay, yeah, makes sense. Ah, so Binding's entering the pits, which involves going round the final chicane, or chicane, hairpin there. So, there we go. Race 1 concluded. We're going to go into race 2 in a moment. So, as is the new format, race number 2 will be dictated by the the qualifying for race number 2 is dictated by the finishing positions of race number 1. There's no reverse grid for this round, as was the case in our last season. And that means that the lineup you see on the top left of the screen right now is going to be the same for the beginning of the next race. So I'm going to put Forrest McCormack in a pretty solid position going into race number 2, with Andrew again in front 5, and therefore able to probably grab some early gains as well. It's going to be a good case though of whether Drift Binding can let Andrew get away, or whether they're going to keep them into the battles, and whether that plays out. Hopefully we get some good battles at a separated grid. To be, if I click next session, does it finish recording the events first round properly? You give it a shot. I push the button. Okay. Oh, it's recorded the first race now. That is all good. Okay, I'll get race control ready on the button in case we need to do a restart. Looking at Akshik's steering wheel. Hell of a seat driving in. Yeah, lights are up, engines are revving. And away they go. This time everyone's getting off to a pretty solid start there, but again, Forrest McCormack does get a pretty good launch there. It's clear of the grid, whilst everyone else has to pile up this hill, potentially 3 abreast, and got Drift through, Sketty through, looks like Akshik in there in the mix as well. This time not getting turned around early on like he did in the last race. As they come over the top of the hill, it looks like everyone is doing pretty well so far. The first descent of the hill, and there's a pretty tight packed midfield here. Binding down in P6 despite starting the race in P4, and Aliens in the mix as well, looking for an opportunity to overtake Binding. Got Toop and Erdy. Further up the field though, we've got Drift in the Audi being chased down by Sketty in the green Audi. And it's Forrest McCormack leading the pack through this risky section as they head down to the hairpin. Will we see any adventurous moves into the hairpin as they come round penultimate corner? Looks like Akshik's made some good ground there on Sketty. He's 0.3 of a second behind. Up the hill they go, much tighter grid this time, as they all pile over the top of the hill. On board here with Sketty, you can see him closing in on Drift ahead. Ah, Mr. Kodiak. How the devil are you, sir? You're just in time to watch a bit of BTCC here at Sonoma, and it's Sketty on the left-hand side there as Drift manages to wangle his way through on the inside. 2 Audis going toe-to-toe with Akshik getting a front row seat from behind there. And it's Drift now leading the Audis through the twisties as they head down to the final couple of corners. Looks like Andrew catching a little bit more curb in the Toyota than he wanted to there. Doesn't get too unsubtle, it's still maintaining that 1.1 second gap. And it's Akshik now, 0.3 of a second behind. Let's go on board with Akshik and see if he can get a little bit closer to Sketty. Looking for an angle, but I'm not sure if he's going to get one until they're at the top of the hill. Too kind, Kodak, too kind. Hope you've been keeping well. So up and over the top of the hill they go. Let's go and try and grab that nice little camera angle that we sometimes get. There we go. Oh, that's different in the BMW. Yeah, so it's different for the Beamer compared to the Audi. It's not on the top of the front quarter panel, it's down the side. But Akshik is not giving up yet. He's 0.4 of a second behind as they come down the hill. And as he sweeps down to the left-hander here, over the blind brow, he's actually losing a little bit of pace here to Sketty's Audi. Looks like Erdy and Box going toe-to-toe again in the Alpha, our only Alpha on the track at the moment. And Erdy in the Audi, they're going side by side through the twisties. And it's Erdy who comes out on top on that one. Yeah, Forrest McCormack does seem to be leaving Akshik a little bit in the dust. So the battle at the front seems to have unwound a little bit. We've got Drift, Sketty and Akshik all a little bit further apart now. 14:37 left on the clock though, so plenty of time for things to get a little bit more spicy. But what is interesting actually is that Forrest McCormack hasn't gained that 6-second lead that he managed to wangle in the last race, and that might give Andrew a little bit of a chance here to come back and give Forrest McCormack a little bit of a run for his money. But he's got a 1.5 second gap to close at the moment, and as yet hasn't made significant inroads into doing so. In fact, that gap's getting a little bit bigger right now, and that's probably not good news for the number 95 car. So Drift seems to be getting a little bit closer now to Andrew. 0.7 of a second separating these two as they come through the curbs. Looks like Drift this time catching a bit more curb than he wanted to, whereas Andrew getting through relatively cleanly there. As they head down to the hairpin at the end. As they head down to the hairpin at the end. They're not close enough yet to pull out those moves that we saw in the last race. And yes, Vars, it's a shame not to have you on track for this one. So it looks like Sketty was gaining a little bit of ground there as Akshik starts to a little bit closer, but it's still quite far back compared to Sketty. We'll have to see whether he can close that gap in the next few laps. Man on a mission, it would seem. But Sketty seems to be the one who's easing a little bit closer to Drift, and nice to see these two get a little bit closer. There we go, 0.6 of a second now from Sketty's point of view, front quarter panel view here. Well, best of luck, Viles, for your interview on Monday. So it looks like Binding has a little bit of interest from Alien now as they get closer. The Airwave Special, driven by Mr. Alien, getting to within 0.3 of a second of Binding's car, and as they come to the final corner here, see Binding's rear right actually locking up a little bit there as they go into the corner. That might mean that Alien's got a chance now to put Binding under a little bit of pressure as I come up to the uphill section. Binding not quite on the same pace he was last race. So come up and over, it's Alien who's closing in 0.3 of a second. Edging in a little bit further. There's the move, Alien's through. But I don't think Binding's going to be giving up just yet. So it's Alien in front as they come down out of the uphill section, or downhill section I should say. Would be the opposite of an uphill section, wouldn't it, Pirate? Binding's got some work to do here. Alien's managed to clear a 0.7 second gap. And Binding catching a little bit more curb there than he probably needed to. That may have slowed his acceleration, excuse me. 0.9 of a second. He's catching a little bit more curb. He's actually riding these curbs like an absolute champ. I'm sure you'll smash it out of the park, Viles. So with 9 minutes and 30 seconds left on this clock, Binding's actually dropping a little bit further back. Alien's free and clear by this point, 1.2 seconds clear of Binding. And at the front of the pack, it's actually Drift and Sketty who seem to be the ones offering the greatest chance of a bit of action. Here we are from Sketty's front quarter panel. And as I come over the hill, let's see if Sketty can give us a bit of a masterclass on how to catch an Audi in an Audi. Pulling down to the right-handers. He's right on his tail now. On board. See what things look like from the cockpit of Mr. Sketty. Now these curbs here are really quite tricky. You've got to be very careful not to use too much of them, but just the right amount that you don't end up going too slowly. If you hit them a bit too hard, they will launch you onto two wheels. Go down into the final corner. So it looks like Sketty was having a bit of trouble there clearing, well, shedding all the speed, let's put it that way, before fully committing to the corner, and that's allowed Drift to get a little bit further ahead. But Sketty isn't out of this yet. He's 0.7 of a second behind as I come up the uphill section. 8 minutes to do something with this, and he just needs to keep the pressure on Drift for a little bit longer. I agree, Viles, it's quite fetching. Into the downhill once again. There's Akshik trailing behind. I'll have to remember to do the sound swap files to make sure that we get audio for the Ford and for the Beamer. I've used that for the thumbnail for the YouTube stream, Viles. There's Sketty again, just coming in a little bit too hot actually, and it's cost him a little bit of time there. But he's not completely gone yet, he's still 0.6 of a second behind. I'll make sure to keep an eye out for that then, Viles. So Sketty's in with a chance here. He just needs to try and find his opportunity to strike and not make a mistake again. He's still got 6.5 minutes, so plenty of time to make this work. Oh, yeah, Vars, that'd be amazing. As long as you've got the time. I'll redo the thumbnail for this race so that it's got some text on it. I just needed something in a pinch. I just nabbed the screenshot. So down the hill again, once again, the 0.7 of a second separating Sketty and Drift. It's been pretty even Stevens between these two for the last couple of laps, but every time Sketty gets a little bit closer in certain sections, he then unwinds that success with a little bit of a mistake somewhere else. And it's typically in the corner we're about to come up to where Drift overcommits, sorry, Sketty overcommits and allows Drift to get away. But let's see if he's learned this time, and he's a bit cleaner into that one this time. But you see, Sketty just not quite getting the exit that Drift is there. And that's costing Drift a little bit. I keep saying Drift. Keeps costing Sketty just a little bit, and then he just gains the time back somewhere else. He's right on Drift's tail now as they come down through the penultimate corner on the run down to the hairpin. But Drift is always just a little bit further ahead at this point, and therefore that means it's a little bit challenging for Sketty to pull a move out in that final corner. So once more up the hill they go. Going to stick with these two because they have the most chance of an overtake happening. But at the moment, Drift is just really solid in his performance. He hasn't afforded Sketty any opportunities in the form of a mistake. And if we do see an overtake between these two, it's going to be entirely on the merits of Sketty's driving, because Drift is not making this easy for him at all. .7 of a second once again as they come down the left-hander. This time Sketty's in a stronger position. He's 0.5 of a second coming through the twisties. That's normally a 0.7 for him. And he just needs to keep this pressure on. He might have a chance in the hairpin. We'll have to just stay with him and see. He takes a nice line through there. Gets back on the throttle nice and easily. And he's in a better position than he's ever been in the last couple of laps. So yeah, 0.5 into the final corner. Let's see if he overcooks it here. No, keeps it nice and tidy. It's a nice exit as well. And he's now put himself in a pretty solid position here on the run up to the top of the hill. Hey Neo, good to see you. Really good action between these cars here. Hopefully this race lures a few more people in. Sketty over the top of the hill. Trying to catch Drift's Audi up front, but he's getting tantalisingly close, but just out of reach. Oh, and there's Akashik. Akashik's just binned it into a corner, and that's not good news for the German. But Sketty, look at this. He's 0.3 of a second behind, ladies and gentlemen, and that puts him in a really solid position now. It's seems to be ironing out the kinks in his laps, and he might have an opportunity now, better than he's had in the last few laps, to overtake. And here it is, almost getting a sniff down the inside there as they come round the right-handers. You can see Drift locking up the rear wheel there, and that's leaving Sketty in a pretty solid position here. But Sketty has got to pull this together as they head down through big curves here. Just a minute and a half to go. Sketty once again closing in. You can see Drift locking the rear right again as they come through that final hairpin. So Sketty has 1 minute left on the clock. It's his last attempt here at a podium finish. And he is close, but still a little bit further away than he probably wants to be. 0.4 of a second coming down the downhill section. You can see him right on Drift's tail now. What, a little bit of grass there on the exit, which is going to slow him down just a touch. But he's riding the brakes into the corner there, trail braking all the way through. And gets a solid exit. He's 0.4 of a second behind, so can he make this work in the double right-hander coming up? It's a key opportunity. And he just needs to force together, but Drift is just so clean through there. He's not giving him any slack at all. And we're going to just stay on this view here as Sketty comes down through the twisties. You can see Drift actually using a little bit more of the curb on the left-hand side there compared to Sketty. But Sketty's going for the move. He stuck it down the inside, but does make contact. And that allows Drift to come through and retain the third spot. It was a bold move from Sketty and just unfortunately didn't work this time. It did result in some contact though, so hopefully that doesn't result in any kind of ticket, but he'd be well within his rights to report that. So, another P1 finish for Forrest McCormack, a double win for Forrest. P2 for Andrew, I think that's double P2 for Andrew. And Drift, third place there as well. Sketty launching himself over the top of the mountain there. And actually takes a solid P5 with Alien bringing up a solid P6 there. Binding in P7, not as good a finish this time, but a good effort. It was a very bold attempt, wasn't it? So, the name I can't pronounce, I'm just going to say Toop, finishes in P8 and Erdi in P9. So points all round, I believe, under the new point scoring system. Boxbox grabs a P10 in the Alpha. And that just leaves our final Audi, Mr. Paposi. I love the sounds that the Audi is making. It's like normal exhaust burbles with the odd random bang. Oh, that is the wall. And that is the wall again. Oh, just manages to avoid a double back to that. Random explosion. And back on the track. So there we have it. Race number 1 and 2 are now complete. So I'm going to go ahead and start the stage. We'll grab some drivers for an Arkeen. Yes, the Commentator's Curse. You can take out Commentator's Curse insurance for the low, low price of £10 a month. I will not witness you driving your car, and therefore any mistakes you make will be none other than your own. Pay now on credit card and get a tasteful ankle shot provided by Kodiak. So race number 1 was Forrest McCormack, Andrew and Drift on the podium, and race number 2 was the same. So we'll be interviewing all those 3 drivers, hopefully, if they pop up to say hello. But I've got to say, actually, that was some really solid racing today, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching those 2 rounds in the new touring cars. Hopefully that draws a new bunch of drivers onto the grid, because we do need a few more. But that was some really solid racing. Well done all round. I'll give it another second or two. If no one pops up for the interview, I shall go ahead and assume everyone is doing what they normally tend to do, which is watch Andrew live stream every moment of the race in a post-race review. But there we go. Okay, well, no one's coming. So, Carl Lover, why don't you hit us up with a raid suggestion, and we'll go ahead and drop you guys off with a raid person. And if Carl Lover isn't here, I shall just go ahead and wrap up the stream. Unless anyone else has got any raid suggestions. There we go. Thank you, Carl. Okay, well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you being here as always. I'm going to go ahead and kick off the raid now, and I shall see you for the next round, which will be next weekend. And there you go. Enjoy the raid, guys. Say hello from me, and thank you very much for being part of the stream and for those on track today. As always, appreciate the support here at Syndicate Motorsport, and once again, I have been Pirate Laserbeam, your commentator for the evening, and I look forward to welcoming you again to the stream next round. Catch you later.
Oh, brother, red line. Oh, brother, red